Hey guys, how you guys doing today? I've got a very special guest on the show today, but before I introduce our special guest, I want to tell you what this episode actually is. So, I've realized that I have a passion sort of for like magic cards and board games, and I realized that I also had a passion for the paranormal for the last like 10, 15 years. Some things have happened to me in the past, and I've followed this person for a long time now, and I've noticed that he's moved on to something that I find extremely interesting, so that's why I wanted to have him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Grant Wilson.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah. So I've got him wired in here on my phone from Skype. Thank you so much for joining us on the episode today. I'm like honored to have you here.
Well, geez, I don't know about honor, but likewise. You guys are great. I love what you got going on, and it's my pleasure. Are you kidding me? Thank you.
No. Trust me, the honor is it's amazing to have you here because I grew up for the last like 8 years watching Ghost Hunters and watching you on television on Sci-Fi Network, and by the way, if you don't know what Ghost Hunters is, go to Sci-Fi, search Ghost Hunters. You've probably been living under a rock if you don't know what Ghost Hunters is. But the reason we have Grant on today is because he's got something very exciting that I wanted to show you guys, because I'm definitely 100% in on this, and I love what you've done here. So maybe you could just tell the folks exactly what you have going on Kickstarter at the moment, and what it really is about.
Okay, well that's good. Thank you. Well, I've obviously been in the paranormal for a long time, but you know, before I ever got thrust into paranormal, I've been drawing ever since I could hold a pencil, and so I've been drawing. I love it, and I love games, and so I got together with a friend of mine, and we started a board game company, and it's going really well. And on Kickstarter, we have what is now our 4th game that's out there, and the one that we're obviously most excited about. Because you know, you make a game and you have people test play it, and people like it, but this one, the response has been phenomenal. People, once they play it, they're hooked, and they can't stop playing it, and that's a good sign for us, because we enjoy it that much too. But it's a game called Dwarven Miner. It's a board game, and it's a lot of fun. We call it fantasy-themed dual-tier crafting game. So it's kind of tough to explain and sum it up. If you go to the Kickstarter, there are 2 different videos that show how it works. But basically, it's kind of a nice combination between a Euro-style game, if you know what that is, where there are a lot of bits and some resource management. Yeah. And it's like a beer and pretzel game where you can sit around with your friends and just kind of have a good time. Totally. It's like a mild Euro style.
Yeah, totally. I've obviously watched those Kickstarter videos that you guys produced to show what the game would be like and whatnot, and I noticed that it was amazing to see that it can be like between 2 players all the way up to 12 all of a sudden.
12. It's a 2 to 4 player, but we do have expansions that'll expand it.
Oh, okay. Because I saw on the artwork on the I guess the beta artwork for the box. Maybe I misread it. But anyways,
I think you might have confused with the age. It's 12 and up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I was looking at that. But yeah,
the only reason we don't have it's not available for more players is just because we think it would take too long to play.
Yeah,
you can put 2 or 3 of them together and have a good time, and we've done that, and it's been a blast.
Exactly. I noticed on the box it was like between half an hour to 40 minutes long each game, I'm guessing.
Yeah, obviously the first game of any game takes the longest, but once you've played the game one time through, you understand exactly how it works, and all of a sudden, what looks like a sweet, innocent game, all of a sudden, all these subtle little strategies start to rise to the surface, and it gets a lot of fun, and every time you play it, it just becomes more and more fun, and the game is totally different every time.
You see, that's the sort of thing I like to see in these board games, where I've noticed that you've definitely put a lot of emphasis into the whole like item inventory to be able to build that up and actually store certain things in a vault, which you know, there's a lot of board games now, a lot of indie board games, and I like seeing the fact that there's a strategy that can be formed based on the cards that you're picking up in this game. It looks very, 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 very like strategy driven. Is that something like when you're designing the game? Is that something you have in your mind? Like you really have a level of strategy you want in the game, or is that something that you kind of like had a certain level of it, but realized afterwards, like, wow, this is really, really, really good?
Well, any game starts off with just a simple mechanic concept.
Okay.
Or a theme. And so Mike who is my partner here, who is actually the game designer, and you know our titles overlap a little. He critiques the art, and I critique the game design. We build the thing together. But yeah, this one started out. He just had this. He wanted to make a crafting game, and so he did. And then as we talked, we thought about dwarves and how to do it. And then of course you make a crappy little test play version out of, you know, you draw it on paper and index cards. And as you play, you realize where the strategies are, and then you foster them. You magnify them. Yeah, and that's exactly what we've done with this. And I'm telling you, this is not just a game in and of itself, but this is honestly the beginning of a line of games. Because this game can go anywhere, and we already have half a dozen at least expansions planned that they're not just adding cards to the game, radically change the way the game plays. So if we can get this funded, that's why we're so excited about it, then that just, you know, pops the cork on the bottle and everything comes out.
No, totally. Like the moment I saw the Kickstarter, I was like, oh my God, I have to, because I saw that you were doing some artwork for the game probably a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, like, when can I get this? Like, I want to play this. I want to see what it's about. And now that you have the Kickstarter online, you guys did a very good job with all of the, maybe you could talk about the different tiers.
Sure.
Because I definitely noticed that you have quite a bit of different tiers on the Kickstarter. And I love seeing that, you know, because you actually took the time to study what you needed to do to get the funding and whatnot. So I can definitely see you put a lot of work into it. So maybe you could just talk about some of the tiers that you're most happy with.
Excellent. Okay, well, like I said, I'm a gamer at heart, and so is Mike. I was, you know, been playing games my whole life and making up games my whole life. And what we did is we thought, okay, well, I've gone to Kickstarter sites, and they'll be like, hey, if you pledge, you know, this much, you'll get our game, but you also get a bumper sticker, or you get like, you know, your name in gold print, whatever. Like, I mean, there's only so much you can do, but we wanted to think of what do gamers really want. And so we tried to take our game and then offer things that could accentuate the gameplay itself. Like, we partnered with Reaper Minis, who are huge in the miniature industry.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, they helped us out great. They gave us a great deal so we could provide 4 dwarf minis you can use to replace the pawns in the game. And we have our friend Chris Christopoulos at Mardigan's Mail, who makes some of the finest chainmail in the world. It's stainless steel. You can wash it in a dishwasher. So we had him come up with dice bags, chainmail dice bags to hold your dice in. And then we have a friend, Scott Palentius, that makes handmade wooden dice towers that are excellent craftsmanship. And so we're offering these things. Not only are we offering them to you to say, hey, thanks, or give you incentive to give more, but it also gives our friends who are trying to make it out there with their handcrafted goods, it gives them a boost too.
Yeah.
Every time you get a chainmail bag, that guy, he's getting full price for it. We're paying him. We're not getting a deal on those things. We're paying him what it's worth just to get to, you know, to give us maybe $5 more or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but one of the ones that is really selling that really makes me feel good is my art. I've offered what we call progression prints. We've seen my art in 3 different stages: the line art, and then the shading, and then the finished color. And people are really eating that up, which to me is flattering. So, but yeah,
it's amazing. I've definitely looked at all the artwork that you've done on the Kickstarter and some of the progressions that you went through. And I was just kind of curious, when you're doing stuff like that, is it sort of are you using like inspiration from anything that's maybe from your childhood, like a movie or something, or is that just something that just comes to you as you're drawing it?
It's kind of all in my head. I kind of live in that world in my head a little. I'm a super geek.
No, but it's awesome. It really is. I'm impressed with the artwork. I like it a lot.
Thank you. But you know, we'll come up, especially in this game, what we call him patron, each dwarf has his own kind of ability.
Yeah.
And so Mike and I get together and we come up with what kind of dwarves you want to see. Okay, and what kind of ability? How would they affect gameplay? Because whenever you complete a patron's order, it changes the gameplay a little.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we would brainstorm and come up with stories. And one of the things we were going to offer as a reward, but we didn't have enough time, was a little book about each dwarf and their history. Because there are things in there that you may not look, but if you look close, you'll see some details and stuff like the rune singer. Why is she old? The chieftain. Why does he have an elf dagger instead of a dwarf dagger? Things like that. There are stories there. There's a lot of depth to it.
See, that's why I wanted to do this video, because I'm just so excited to play the game itself. I just wanted to go a little bit into the expansions and what we can, if you can give us a sort of a little sneak preview, because I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to play the game and really enjoy the game, but it's those expansions that are going to prolong the enjoyment of the game. And,
absolutely. And
I'm really excited that you said that you have like 6, you said, in the works?
At least, yeah.
See, that's awesome. And in terms of the actual expansions, do you have any idea if the expansions will change the gameplay type?
Oh, it's crazy. First of all, we have, like I said, a line of games. We already have Elvish Ranger and Gnomish Tinkerer, which are completely separate games, but they'll have their own twists to them, which are more in the line. But as far as expansions to this game, we have one that we call Dwarven Miner Reforged, and it has it allows you to play 6-player easily.
Okay.
Because what we've done is we've added more patrons in there that speed up the game a little bit. So if you're adding more players, you don't have to worry about adding more time.
Oh, okay.
And the reforgeability, you'll have a smithy as well as your backpack. And as you can, some of the patrons are smiths, and you can put them down, and you can take any item and put it on that smith and make it. And by the end of by the next time your turn rolls around, that item can be transformed into any one in a certain category.
Oh, nice. I see what you're saying.
Right, and there's also elemental. What is he? I don't know. There's another guy.
I'm sure at some point you're probably pulling your hair out, thinking like, "Oh my God, what was next? I forgot."
Yeah, the elemental guy will. He will. You can put an item on him, and then by the end of your next turn, by the time your next turn rolls around, you can get the raw elements out of that item, like he's pulled them out magically.
Oh, nice. I see what you're saying.
And then, I mean, one thing I'm really excited about is we've provided on our Kickstarter, if you sign up at certain levels, we provided another patron card called the Summoner, which is very, very powerful. And that's one that, like, man, if you have that guy in your game, it's going to change the game. But some of the other expansions we have one where two players are miners trying to go in the mine, and the other two players are orcs trying to get out of the mine. And, you're working against each other, tripping each other up. And there's another one called Traps and Treasures, which the game becomes almost like a role-playing game where you can set traps for other players and hold them up, and there are treasures, and you have to complete certain tasks in order to get by obstacles, and it totally changes the gameplay.
See, that's awesome to hear. I'm excited that not only the base game looks like a lot of fun, but you have all of that in the works is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, there's another one that is Light and Dark, where you're gonna have like paladins and witches and stuff. And that'll give you more dice to add more elements, like a good element and a bad element to it.
Man, you keep going. You keep going. And I'm like, I can't believe, like, it must be a lot of, I think most of the fans watching this will probably want to know, like, how much work goes into making from scratch right to a board game, like a physical board game sitting in front of you. I could just imagine the amount of work it is just to find somewhere to actually print it on the cardboard or you know what I mean? It's probably insane.
It's quite a labor of love, I'll tell you. The next title we take from scratch to end, I'm going to document. I'm going to video it and keep a journal of it. But this one we can kind of we can follow the timeline through the concept art, and start with the basic index cards and sleeves, and then to my crappy sketch art for layout to the final product. But Yeah, it's a lot of work. We actually, it takes a year. It took a year. It would have taken a year to make this game, but we started making another game called Tanks for Playing. It's
Okay.
about tanks attacking each other, you're nuking each other, and it's just brutal. It's a lot of fun. But this one came up out of nowhere, and it just escalated, and everything kind of fell into place, so we ran with it. And, this took, God, it was tough for me from an art standpoint, because I had just almost finished the art for that other game, Tanks for Playing, and I had to start a new game, scratch, and get it ready for this spring.
Wow.
Or the summer.
So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I've been locked in a dungeon on all day, but it's a lot of work, and it's a process that it's awesome. And to see when that game finally comes, you're holding it in your hands, it's almost like you didn't do it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I could never imagine that sort of feeling. To just see something you've designed on a piece of paper all of a sudden is a real physical board game must be amazing.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild, and we have, like I said, this is the fourth product.
Yeah, definitely. There's I was looking at some of the earlier ones.
Mm-hmm. The first one we did two at once. We did Red Hot Chili Pepper, which is a kids game.
Yeah.
Which actually more adults play, and then we have.
That's how it always is.
Yeah, right. Well, anything can be made into a drinking game, so I think that's the key. But whatever, to each their own. And then there's X Marks the Spot, which is a pirate tile laying game where you're trying to make X's with your pirate flags, but there's a lot more to it, and it's a game you can master. It's kind of like chess or checkers, but there is some chance involved. And then we have Four Taverns, which is another one I did a lot of fantasy art on, and that one's a blast. That's our best seller. And it's a screw your neighbor style game, and it doesn't build relationships. No mercy or you lose, that kind of game. And it's just,
yeah, that's awesome.
People love that. People love it.
So you were mentioning earlier that before we started recording here that you're actually a big gamer, and I'm kind of curious. I think a lot of the viewers would want to know what type of games you're into. You obviously you must be a fan of Skyrim.
Oh, Tetris. I like Tetris.
So we're going old school?
No, well, I have three boys, and they're avid gamers, so whatever they play, I get sucked into. I'm a big fan of Warcraft. I play that all the time. We got a bunch of level 90s. I like the MMOs. I've played Terra. I've played, I've started playing Skyrim just recently because I've just now gotten a chance to, thanks to my kids. Skyrim, I'm a huge fan of, obviously. I know it's not as, in your face nowadays, but Zelda, I followed it from the start. I played everyone. I love that.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, Portal, Zelda, for you name it, I love it. Even the driving games, I love Gran Turismo. But I have a friend that's like, for me, it's like, okay, I don't have enough time to do the game.
Yeah, you don't have 40 hours to dump into Skyrim.
Right, especially when you're locked in a dungeon doing art. But Skyrim is definitely on my list, and I like to sit and watch my kids play it, and watch them get chased around for killing people and stealing stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome. I definitely have to ask you, do you ever play like survival horror games and you're kind of just like, you know what I mean? Because you've probably seen something else in real life that was a little bit better than the game.
Well, honestly, the stuff you see in those games is nowhere near what's really out there.
Yeah.
Like, the stuff in the games is so much more drastic and crazy. And, in fact, when I was doing the show, we kept trying to figure out a Ghost Hunters video game that actually gave the right feel, and you just can't do it because it's a lot of sitting on your butt waiting for stuff to happen, and that's not engaging at all. But yeah, I mean, I played like BioShock a little. That one's a little crazy, and Slender Man. The kids always have But no, I actually, it's funny because I get jumpy in like these Halloween haunted houses because something's gonna pop out, and you can't like slug it in the face.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm actually getting jumpy. I watched Cabin in the Woods last night, which is a weird movie, but like the reality of the situation is actually a lot creepier on a different level. It's less of a physical threat and more of a intellectual kind of riddle. So two totally different worlds. Yeah.
So yeah, everything that you've explained about Dwarven Miner sounds extremely addictive, and I've noticed from the videos it clearly is addictive. So if you guys want to check out the actual Kickstarter for Dwarven Miner, it's link in the underbar to the Kickstarter, and I highly suggest that you... which tier is the one where you get the actual board game? I think it's tier 3?
Yeah, it's the third tier, $50 Dwarven Miner. The game's going to retail for $49.95, so you basically get it at retail, but you don't have to pay tax or shipping.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, within the States, and then if you're out of the United States, an extra like $20.
Yeah, I mean we'll kind of play that by ear. So
yeah, because up in Canada, yeah, the thing is here in Canada, we always see these really cool things that are in the States, and then it's like, oh, you have to ship it, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah,
but
right.
You know what I mean? Like when you see certain things like this that you really want, it doesn't matter. Shipping doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, we have to, they don't really give you many options, so if it's out of the U.S., you got to put a price, and they don't get specific. So
exactly.
But we'll communicate with you guys. You know, anyone who backs it, and we're willing to solve any problems. So don't worry.
Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming on 3 Kilobytes. It's literally been amazing talking to you. Like I said, I used to watch Ghost Hunters every time it was on television, own all the DVDs, everything. And to talk to you on the show has just been amazing. And also to see you actually to make something like this that sort of fits into I guess you can call it geek culture. Is pretty cool, man. So I'm really excited for the game.
Well, thank you. And I can't thank you enough for having me on here. I really appreciate it, and your support of me over the years.
Oh, no.
And continuing support of me after the show. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem, man. I think my best friend who couldn't make it, who's usually on the show with me, I think we were watching an episode where you said, where you re-encountered something like it sounded like a Dutch oven hitting the floor. I don't know if you remember that. But we've been using that as like sort of a joke for like 10 years. Like, okay. Absolutely, anytime there's a loud sound, we're like, bam, it was like a Dutch oven. So yeah, I had to tell you that one, because it's been this inside joke that everyone's always like, what the hell are you talking about? And we're like, don't worry about it.
It's between us 3, don't worry about it.
Exactly. Yeah, now you're in on it, so that's awesome. So cool, yeah, cool. Thanks so much. Again, it's been amazing. And guys, once again, if you want to check out what we've been talking about here, link in the underbar to the Kickstarter, and I'll also put a link to his actual website where you can check out the other games that he's produced in the past there. Some of those are actually really cool as well. Well, actually, all of them are really cool. The kids game, he's saying you could turn into an amazing drinking game, so I have to... somebody out there want to see that. Okay. So yeah. So thanks so much once again, and... I'm definitely going to keep on top of the Kickstarter and make sure that this thing gets funded.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And next time we'll have to talk about music.
Yeah, actually, we'll do a part 2 after the Kickstarter.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Post-Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Thanks, all right, Jason. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, man.
Take care.